Hello. Hi guys, thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Apologies for a few minutes late. We're waiting for a couple more people just to turn up, so thanks for your patience. My name is Chris O'Neill. I'm part of the ShelterTech team. As you can probably tell, I'm not a San Francisco or US native. I've been living here in Spain for about 9 months, but sort of traveling back and forward for about 18 months. So just a quick show of hands, if I can, obviously not individually the ShelterTech team. Who has heard of ShelterTech and what we've been doing before the events have popped up on their Facebook or social media feeds? Who knows who we are, what we're doing? Good. So starting fresh, that's probably a very good place to start. So first of all, thank you, because this building actually, you've probably seen things dotted around. We're in Code for San Francisco. So massive thanks to Mark and the team for letting us use this space today. Code for San Francisco is part of Code for America, which is about 50,000 members across the US. And really, it's people that work in tech environments using their skill sets to kind of allow better access to social services, some of the projects that we're working on, things like making it really simple to apply for the food system. So you've got these amazing brains here in the Bay Area that can come and use their skill set to just simplify a process like that can have a real meaningful impact on people's lives. So ShelterTech really became involved with Code for San Francisco about 2 years ago. And AskDarcel, our founder, who we'll hear a little bit more about later on today, kind of realised that there was a need for some technology solutions for homeless and low-income people. So there was a relationship starting with Code for America, Code for San Francisco in this building here. It's where our project team works every week out of this space, building products that can actually help people on the streets, kind of day in, day out is the intention overall. So my intro to ShelterTech really I was introduced by a colleague, which is kind of what happens to a lot of us. So you find out someone's working on something really great. And when I heard about who we were trying to address and the products that we were building for, we've just undergone the latest homeless count in San Francisco. And it's around 7,500 people that were counted as part of that one night event. Now, the problem with that is that actually you have to look homeless to be included in that count, and that doesn't necessarily address the needs of everybody. So really, we started designing some products that were 7,500 transitional homeless residents, 8,000 transitional age youth, and 65,000 low-income and at-risk families. And what we started to work on was that people actually have access to technology. We can create solutions that will help them kind of get out of the situation that they're in a quicker way than more traditional routes, really, more than anything. So we came up with 3 initiatives. The first one, very simple, is shelter Wi-Fi. So actually, the shelters around the city, people didn't have access to any wireless networking in a lot of them. And one of the things that we know from both the homeless count and from our own research is that people have devices that they can connect to the internet. They don't necessarily know where to look, or they can't actually get online. So by addressing the can't get online one, that was kind of the first easiest solution that we can work with partner providers to go and install wireless networks in shelters so that people can be online as when they can. Secondly, on top of that, and I mentioned Darcel, who's the founder, which one of my colleagues will talk a little bit about later on today. He realised when he was homeless, so through circumstance he ended up on the streets. He realised that the time that it took him to get the assistance that he needed from the city or from place workers was too long, and he started trying to help himself, just by googling things and trying to look for services that he could avail himself of to actually help him get out of the situation that he was in a quicker way. And what he realised was there was no real repository for him to do that. Nothing where people had actually shared information or made it easy to access and categorise. Very simple. You'll hear later on from some of our panel about the challenges that they're facing day in and day out. So the team here started creating a product called AskDarcel, which is, in a very simple sense, it's Yelp for the homeless community. So it's peer-reviewed community resources, whether that's you need to take a shower or you need to get some food or you need to sleep somewhere for the night. And by making that peer-to-peer, actually you're getting the information from the people that it matters to most, which are the people that are actually using the services. And the third project you'll see there on the right is Casey. Now this is a referral chatbot. Who's used a chatbot before in their day-to-day life? So Casey really is about becoming a case manager for the homeless community to use to get basic resources through the intentions through text messaging, through Facebook Messenger. They'll be able to go on and ask where the nearest shelter is, where can I get food tonight, who can help me fill in some forms so I can actually try and get back into employment. So more conversational techniques than kind of self-serving yourself, but that's something we're working on, and you can read more about that on our site. So I think, as I say, my introduction to this was about nine months ago. I've worked with a couple of non-profits back in London, and I have to say, sort of hand on heart, I've never met anybody more inspirational than people I'm working with in this project. Both the people that want to help solve the issues, but also the people that are affected by the issues. You'll hear some of those stories later, and I think one thing that I would say is that some of the answers to the questions you'll hear tonight are probably surprising because certainly, I think everyone in this room is here because they want to help in some way. But actually, I was surprised by some of the things that come out of just having normal dialogue with the people that are affected by the issues. And I think sometimes that's testament to the fact that are we necessarily asking the right questions? Are we asking the right questions of the city and the people that can help? Are we asking the right questions of ourselves to help these people? So hopefully, the intention of today, the event is called Burst the Bubble. That's what it's about. It's supposed to be a two-way dialogue between the panel speakers that we have tonight, so you can find out a little bit more about how we're using technology, how people are using technology, but also for you to ask some questions and understand how you can help with it. And hopefully give you some real tangible walkaways this evening that you can actually walk out of here thinking you've helped, even if that means just sticking some dollars in the donation box on the way out. It's very strategic. So what I want to do now is actually invite Scott and Patricia up. So Scott and Patricia are going to be part of our panel to ask some initial questions about their sort of day-to-day life and how they're using technology. We're just going to go through some questions with them before we move on to a little bit more about what we're doing at ShelterTech. Thank you very much, guys. I'm going to give you that, Scott, and then we'll pass it to Scott, would you mind just giving a little introduction about yourself, a bit about your story, where you are?
Okay. Hello, my name is Scott. I'm currently living in a shelter in San Francisco, and I've been here about 2 years now, trying to get some housing in SRO, I think is what the city's trying to get me, but they haven't hooked it up yet. I'm from Southern California, came up to actually around 2012. I was staying down there and helping to take care of my parents. And my mother died, and my father went to an assisted living facility in Virginia. So I moved up. I always wanted to go to a liberal town, so I moved to Berkeley. So I heard they were liberal in Berkeley, and but they weren't so liberal there. So then I moved to Oakland for a while, and I wasn't working. I'm also I've been in prison before, so I'm an ex-felon. I went years and years ago for some white collar stuff. So it's not the easiest getting a job. So I just figured I'd see how I could get along up here. And then I finally moved over to San Francisco. I started volunteering with the Coalition on Homelessness and was working on some of their projects on recycling around the city. We're trying to bring recycling back. We're trying to, obviously, there's, as he said, there's 3,500 homeless in San Francisco. So right now, I'm volunteering at the Coalition, and I stay in the shelter and trying to find some other housing. The issue now, part of the housing issue is it used to be kind of fragmented. There was a few different providers, and when people were looking for housing, low-income housing, they would go to, say, Community Housing Partnership or General Line Neighborhood Development Corporation or a couple other groups. But the city's changed everything with their Department of Homelessness. So that's why this app will actually help out a lot. It's hard for the homeless to figure out what's going on. From day to day, it's hard to figure out what's going on. If you want shelter, it's a difficult path to figure out. They have 90-day shelters. They also have one-night shelter days. But they've only got 1,200 adult shelter beds, and there's 7,500 people. So it's not the easiest thing to get into shelter. The shelter stays last for 120 days. They call it 90, but they give a 30-day extension. And then if you haven't found a place to live yet, then you have to get back on a wait list. The wait list is currently, I believe, at 1,100 people, which takes about 6 weeks to get back into shelter. So then during that time, some people stay with their friends, or you try to do one-day shelters, or have even pitched a tent and camped out at some places in the city. Quite interesting doing that. And so right now I'm actually trying to get some of the system is bureaucratic. I've been waiting 3 months to get into a SRO, which is single room occupancy hotel. And just recently they said they lost my file last week. So they found it by this week. So I'm hoping that something will come.
Great, thanks. Patricia.
Hi, my name is Patricia. I have been back in the city since October of last year. I have a debilitating illness that is ongoing. It's rheumatoid arthritis, and there is no cure for it, so they can just control it. Not always quite so well. So I had to have a surgery, and I was in property management, which I really enjoyed. But if you can't do the work, then you can't remain on the property. So I gave up my home. I was eligible for retirement, so I went ahead with that. And I have lovely children who happen to like me, and we get along. But I didn't want to live in Seattle. That's where I'm from. I had worked at the coalition back in the early 90s, and really loved the work, and decided to come down and see what was going on and what I could do to help. And the only way you can do that on a limited budget is to use the shelter system. My friends had moved away, so there was no one in the city any longer. I did know it was where I wanted to work, and things have not changed since the 90s. Even when the housing clinics were the ones that were doing the housing subsidies and finding people places, it was all fragmented. If you need food, you have to have what's called
The free pantry?
Yeah.
No, the free food chart. There's a
the
food
free
chart.
food chart, yeah. And it may change if one of the providers didn't have the things to put the meal together. They may limit what they have. They may not be able to show up. You just don't know. You don't know till you get there. And when you get there, you stand and you wait, and you wait in one line and you wait in another line. If you don't have a 90 or 120 day bed, then it's a day by day thing, and you wait in a line. So I can see this kind of app being quite useful in average wait times, who is doing what. It's frustrating, it's infuriating at times. It adds to an already tense situation. So yeah, I see that it could be quite useful. So.
Patricia, how do you find those services today? How do you hear about them when you first arrived in San Francisco and in your homes? How do you actually get the information that you need to go and help yourself that way?
By word of mouth, more often than not. If you try to access the information from the city's 311 list, unless you know exactly what it is you're looking for or have all kinds of time, it can take sometimes over an hour just to get on a page that's useful. And so if you're at the library and you've signed up, I think the limit there is an hour for their computers. Then by the time you find what you need, it's time to go. People do have smartphones. I have a smartphone, but if you don't know what you're looking for, then you spend a whole lot of time, and it's difficult to charge your phone. Fortunately, I volunteer at the coalition, so it's one of the perks. I just plug it in, I come in, and not a big deal. Otherwise, you get to know who knows what, and you have to know which questions to ask to get the information they need. So,
We want to mind just talking through kind of the day to day. So you wake up in the morning. What are you doing? Obviously, you guys are volunteering at the coalition. Outside of that, when you're trying to get out of the homeless situation, how do you go about doing that? What does a day look like?
You're required to work with a case manager in some form. And to do that, again, you have to know the ones, they do have case management in the shelter system. They have limited case management. They have, I think, 4 case managers on site in the building that I stay at, and they have over 300 people who live in that building. So that means 4 case managers for 3 days. Right? 350. So you sign up. They have to access the housing list unless you can figure it out on your own. Fortunately, I know Scott and he showed me where it was to find if I needed it, but not everyone knows that. Otherwise, you have to wait for the case managers to print it out and post it. And then you have to go to that particular case manager and to access to get the application for the housing, to check back on the housing, for resources if you are accepted into housing, for resources to help you get moved in and get set up. And the same goes for clothing closets, for food pantries, medical services. Fortunately, those haven't changed much, and most people know where they are. But still, they're, to know that you can go online and find out your records, what they say, test results, and that kind of thing. Unless someone has told you that and shown you how to do it, then it can be a real challenge.
And Scott, if I could ask you, there's a lot of talking that I was really surprised about, actually taking the step out of homelessness. What do you need to make it much to kind of get yourself out of that situation? If you can find employment, it's a larger number I think other people realise.
Yeah, I'm not actually certain. We keep seeing that people are paying $3,000 a month for apartments in San Francisco or more, perhaps. Right, the people, low-income individuals, more look kind of for the city subsidized housing, which is the SROs, and there's some apartment and studio units around, and they make you pay 1/3 of your whatever your income is. So some people that are on Social Security make $900 a month, they may pay $300 a month for a place. They're telling me right now I'm making $473 a month. They're telling me that they'll take 1/3 of that income. But that's not much income. So the question is, if you could save up enough, could you get a job to even live in the city? It's kind of a difficult thing, perhaps with a roommate. We all know it's getting harder and harder with the rents going up and everything. So to tell you the truth, I really haven't tried to figure out what it would take to come up with a place, a regular place in the city. But right now, I'm just trying to get into a stabilized housing, and then perhaps I can go out and get a job and then save up for something. But may end up going to Oakland, like a lot of people. San Francisco is becoming overpriced. And I don't know if I'd be able to make enough here. So for right now, I'm just actually volunteering and trying to help out a lot, as Tricia was saying. We're always trying to find out the latest information about, the sources and stuff. I think one of your questions though was, what do I do? Because my day and her day are a lot different than the homeless people in the tents. I can tell you, having done tents for a couple of weeks, that your main concern is actually it's a 24-hour job just watching your stuff, because there's a lot of people that will try to take it, and if you're not there, the cops could come by and sweep it all away, or other things could happen. So it's really hard for people who are living out on the streets to get a lot of things done. They go maybe to eat breakfast or something, they have to have stuff, people watch their stuff, and then they have to wait in lines to find things out, like for clothing. So if the app had the sources like to saying on Tuesday morning you can go here and get this, to be very nice to just figure that out instead of, we rely on a lot of paper right now. I maintain all the bulletins in our office and have about 30 of them for all these resources: legal help, immigration help, food, where housing is at. So hopefully this will help and get things in a concise location, and so the homeless community can use it. Because we get questions all the time at the coalition, mostly about housing, and there's not a lot of housing in the city, so it's going to be tough to, in the interim, people have to find things and use their time, if they can, wisely instead of standing in the long line.
And I think one of the things that surprised me, which we obviously in the home and technology companies here on these tech based. What's your relationship experience with using the technology today to try and help with some of these things? Is it easy? Is there information that you need? Is there? Do you think the service like this will actually be useful? And this isn't a pre-brief. So I'm hoping you say yes.
Yeah, I'm always looking online for information resources. The cities they're way behind all the time. They're barely, like the new Department of Homelessness is barely posts information on their website. You really can't find out too much from there. Things are changing a lot. So sure, if there were your app available would be great. The other thing is that you just don't know where to look. Without a centralized location, I mean, people go to City Hall and ask them, they say call 311, and 311 is supposed to be the information line for the city, but a lot of the 311 operators don't know what's going on either. There's just a lot of things change and people just don't seem to know. You could ask the same person, 5 people the same question, you get the answers. So it would be nice if there's something standardized.
No, not really. It's confusing. It's all over the map, and it's really hit and miss. We see people at the coalition who have been sent by other service providers because they don't have the answers and they think that we might, and so people want to start getting bounced all over town trying to find the answer to one question. Most usually for muni tickets is a really good one. What do we do? Well, Hospitality House didn't know, so they sent us to a coalition that we don't know either. There's really nothing that we can do to help except give you an informational handout that any organization should be able to access, except nobody knows where to look to find it. So that's pretty much how we work with.
I guess from a more immediate perspective, there's a room full of people here that want to get involved and help in some way. What are one or two things that you say to supported communities that want to help, how they can help in the best way possible?
To centralize the information and to make it available to people so that when someone comes in and doesn't know, we can say, well, there's an app for that. And learn about it together. So they don't have to go back, because so much of this information is available to the public, but people have been so trained they have to go to a service provider to find out what it is. So unless you're really inquisitive and unless you understand that your intelligence level might be just as great as the person across the desk from you, and in some cases it's greater than, you have to know where to begin the search, and that's not easy information to find.
I've just got the same question to you, so not necessarily related to the technology of the app. How do people get involved?
Are you talking? Well, it's hard to say because for finding resources, it's scattered. If you mean people as we're passing by on the streets,
Yeah,
or well, the best thing you can do when you see homeless people is acknowledge them or say hello, speak with them. We do a lot of outreach to encampments, and we just go out there and talk with people. And you'll find that a lot of people out there are just regular people that they lost their job, they lost their house, they put their stuff in storage. We see a lot of that where they're in a tent now, or they were living in an RV and they got too many tickets and they got towed. And so they keep, moving to another smaller spot. And so it's just not everyone. I know you've probably seen people out there that look like they're doing drugs, which they probably are in some of the encampments. But there's a lot of people that are really intelligent. We just had a little gathering the other day for a gentleman named Neil Taylor, who passed away. He was a pianist, and they brought a piano out to the encampment, and it was really touching ceremony. But so everyone that's on the street, they had a former life. They had a job. They had every regular thing, and then for whatever reason, it just dropped down and they dropped out of society. And so we get questions a lot like, should I give people money? Should I give them this or that? The best thing is, sure, if you want to, but people always like socks also. But just stopping and talking with people. Say how you doing, or if you pass the same people every day, you just say hello sometime. We run a program at the coalition called Street Sheet, and you may see vendors out there with Street Sheet. So they're trying to, instead of handhandling, they're trying to get a little ahead by selling the Street Sheets, and there's a little information in that for people to read about what's going on in the homeless community. But it's such a wide gulf, especially between that and the tech community, because other than we have smartphones, I'd say that 50% or greater of people out there have smartphones. If you have nothing else, you have a smartphone in your pocket, because you need it more than a mailing address almost, because people need to be able to get in touch by email or phone and text and all that. So having those resources again with an app or something would be very much of a help. Because it's in the city doesn't give out very accurate information either.
So hopefully everyone's here because they want to help in some way. So can I open it up to the floor if anyone's got any questions they want to ask?
Hi, I have two questions. The first question is, you guys threw out the number 7,500 homeless people. According to the Chronicle, there were a little under 6,700 last year. Has it increased by 10% in the past year? And if so, what's the cause of that 10% increase, which seems very large? And my second question is, today or even 20 years ago, if I wanted to go to another country or another city, not even speaking the language, I could probably just go to a local clinic book, and that would guide me through my entire journey, getting everything done, laundry, services, exchange rate, everything. Every time I go to a homeless meeting, it seems like navigating through the San Francisco gauntlet of services is impossible. How come no one's written like a lonely clinic book for being homeless in San Francisco?
Yeah. Because the information is continually changing. Nonprofits are required to reapply for the grant monies that they receive, and every time they have to do that, they have to readdress the people who are providing the grant money. So, and then new ideas come along. Let's try this. Politicians will stake their careers at times on a new bright idea, and when that happens, everything has to be readjusted to fit within the existing system while still being new and different. So it's confusing, but and you see it online. I see it online. Something that you were comfortable using gets new and improved, and suddenly you can't figure it out how to navigate it any longer. So and as far as the count goes, as long as rents keep rising and we just continue to be stagnant or fall, and especially in service industry jobs, you shouldn't expect to see anything else. I mean, people have to have money to exist in the society, and it's just becoming scarcer and scarcer all the
Also on the count, I think I saw the figure here of 7,500. There's a lot of different ways to interpret the count. I've also heard the 6,900. And so I'm not sure whether that's I haven't heard that's been officially announced. I just heard that there. But there's an undercount. Chris was mentioning that when they do the count, if you don't look homeless, they don't count you. So sometimes they don't get everyone. But there's also a lot of people that are doubled up in houses. They're sleeping on couches or they're tucked away somewhere. We estimate there's another few thousand of those. So the true count is probably over 10,000. So the 7,500 I got from that gentleman, I'm not sure whether it's increased or decreased this year. Getting back to the Lonely Planet guides, I'm thinking that when they publish them, they want to get a wide audience, and I don't know that the homeless community has been one that's been perceived as having the wherewithal to be buying it, and it just hasn't interested. And it's just great that this AskDarcel app will come out, because everything could be all in one spot. And it's when I moved to San Francisco, I couldn't believe that everything was so different. Of course, I'm from LA County, and it's a lot different down there. You have a county and you have 86 cities in the county. Up here, it's combined government, but it's really fractured. They have all these various agencies that fight with each other. We see it right now with the homeless sweeps. Department of Homelessness will give people 2 weeks to move out. They'll offer them shelter for 30 days at the NAV center. They'll give them resources. They'll give them testing, HIV testing, and then the Department of Public Works will just come out one morning and say everyone's got to go. And it's political in the end, as I'm sure everyone knows. So right now, it appears to us that you've got different departments kind of vying for who can get the mayor's ear raise.
I think to come back on the Lonely Planet element as well, I can speak from our experience as a team trying to actually build a data repository of services that are available in the city. It's a lot. There's non-profits popping up all over the place all of the time. There's non-profits disappearing. There's people that don't necessarily publicise in central locations what they're working on and what they can provide. So I think we went into it thinking there's a collection of data that we can use, and we can just stick that onto a mobile website and people can come in and find the data. The reality is that data is not correct. So actually even now, one of the things that we're doing is we're working with a group of homeless consultants who are working, and they're teaching us about the data. As the guys have said, it's word of mouth, and you can plug into as many APIs and Google the arse out of something. But actually, half the time the data there isn't actually coming back as correct. So we're going through that data cleanse process now to actually make sure that what we are presenting is useful to people that actually use it. But maybe one day we'll publish it into the link. Any other questions?
So I wanted to understand, if you are homeless and move to the city of San Francisco, what are the jobs that people tend to gravitate to that they can get easily on a short-term basis?
I know that the city has a lot of postings. I've seen where they have people sweeping the streets, for instance. They also had some jobs that didn't seem like the greatest job. It was the attendant to the pit stop bathroom program around town, where you may have seen them. They pull them in a trailer. They're also having attendants at some of those stationary bathrooms are called J.C. Deco bathrooms. They put them in, I think, 25 years ago, and they're self-cleaning bathrooms. But what they found out was that people were living in them, and without attendants, it wasn't an attendant. It wasn't getting much the proper use. So that's one of the jobs. I'm not really up on all the other jobs. I honestly haven't looked because I've been volunteering and I've been making do with where I'm staying at the shelter. Part of my experience was just getting used to San Francisco. I've never lived in a large city, so to me, it's actually a fascinating place. So every time I go out and I do something, I speak with someone, I go to an encampment, I go to a hearing with the board of supervisors. It's pretty interesting stuff, and it just adds to my general knowledge of what's going on in the city.
I was wondering if there are any general misconceptions that you would love to debunk, things that you hear.
Don't ever say this.
People are people. I mean, it doesn't not apply just because someone has lost their housing. You go through the same things, you have exactly the same needs. You have far fewer choices available to you, and you have to be educated. If you plan on building any kind of career, for myself, that's not going to be an issue for me. I cannot work full time. I enjoy the volunteer work that I do immensely, and I'm not going to give it up unless I absolutely have to. Working 4 or 6 hours a day for 4 days a week would be my maximum at this point. There's no way I can hope to be housed in this city. So I've got to figure out something else. And the wait list for subsidized housing is horrendously long, and I understand that I'm new. I have a history here, but I had to start it again when I came. So it's not unusual. It's you have to be able to impress an employer if you're going to get yourself employed. And just like when I was a teenager, if you were going to start in an industry, you're going to start at entry level. You're not going to keep yourself housed, which means you can't keep yourself clean, which means, and it goes on and on and on. So, and mom and dad can't afford to have you with them either usually. So.
John Ross, is that Scott? Any myths that you want to debunk?
I think that there's a perception that a lot of the homeless people are there by choice. That all they want to do is be homeless, and but there's a lot more to the dynamic of homelessness. I think we're seeing a lot more in this country. The living wages have not kept up with the rents, and it's not just in San Francisco. You see it all over the country. There's homeless people all over the country. A major problem was that they took away a lot of the housing in the 80s, and the country just hasn't come back to that. But to get the myths, I think just everyone's, even when someone's homeless, they're not some dangerous person, or they're just a regular person that doesn't happen to have a house right now. We, instead of calling them homeless, we say people experiencing homelessness, because you're hoping that it's not a permanent thing, that they're just passing through that and they'll get on to somewhere. Now, I think they're going to need long-term help from the governments, and time will tell what happens with that. But society's going through a lot of changes, so hopefully everyone can just look at people and, like I said, just talk with people when you see them. For whatever question, you might just talk about the bloom on the trees or something. Just get to know people and hear their stories, and you'll find that there's a lot of reasons that people are not housed in various situations, and just try to support them however you can.
Great. Any other questions before we move on? Sure.
I was hoping we could talk about shelters a little bit, because some of the people I've met on my street are walking around the city opt not to stay in shelters, and I'd love to understand what kind of needs do shelters fulfill, and what kind of needs do they miss out on, and then kind of like a side part of that is specifically for technology needs, how do shelters help, and then where do you have to go perhaps elsewhere for tech needs, like anything from charging to Wi-Fi or whatever.
I can speak for some of the shelters. I've been in probably 5 of them. For all I know right now, one of them has Wi-Fi, the next door shelter, which is what Darcel Jackson got put in there when he started ShelterTech. So that's really, in fact, there's a lot of people who stay at that shelter because they have Wi-Fi. That's their #1 reason for staying there. So it would be nice if they were all wired. Also, if they But most of them have outlets and stuff for charging the phones. There's another issue though, say there's 7 shelters, 2 of them are 24-hour shelters where people can, if you're not kicked out in the morning. The other 5 shelters, what they do is at 7 or 8 in the morning, everyone has to leave for the day. And then they have to go out and do whatever, go to the library or wherever they want to pass their time. Maybe they work, maybe they bird watch, I'm not sure. And then they come back at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon and get back in their shelter and have a meal that night. So there's those 2 different types. And the city will only fund them from nighttime until morning. The 2 shelters that are 24 hours a day have taken upon themselves to actually fund that, which is nice of them to do that. But they need more support from the city. They're starting with their navigation centers now, which is a whole different thing. It was a pathway to housing for a while, for about a year, and they were finding people on the streets that had been long-term homeless and getting them into housing. But then it was kind of inequitable because people already in the shelter system could not get into the navigation centers because they had to be on the streets. People are actually camping out on the streets trying to get in so they could get housing. So the city threw away that model. Now you hear them talk about the navigation centers. They're going to build all these nav centers, but they're actually only nice shelters. People can bring their pets, they can bring their possessions, they can come and go. There's a better food, I hear, but it's just a shelter, and they may help people with case management, but it's not a direct path to housing. And so what's interesting now, if you hear of them sweeping encampments or putting people in a nav center, they only get to stay for 30 days and the city kicks them back out onto the street. So that's that type of shelter. And they're building more, so I'm not sure what SD has planned to further that. It's just an odd situation right now with that shelter. So the other ones, though, are the ones where you can get on the waiting list. And like I said, it's 1,000 people long. And then some people do try to work and they try to save their money up, but it's difficult, and every 120 days they get thrown back out on the streets. So it's not conducive to saving or getting a job or trying to move forward because it's kind of a short-term thing.
And as far as tech-wise, there are outlets, they're really limited. It's not a good idea to walk off and leave your phone or your tablet charging while you go do something else. Not like when you're at home, you just plug it in and go do the laundry or whatever it was you were going to do and then come back to that. You can't do that in a shelter. And there are not the outlets available usually to have it close by you to charge it overnight. There are no computer labs that I've seen. To use a computer lab, you have to go to the library or to St. Anthony's or some other place off-site, and then they have their hours and they have limited access. So it would be a wonderful thing, to wire so people could, the vets, that if they have a vet, that they're able to plug in overnight and charge and be ready to go. That's not a reality.
Thank you.
We've got time for one more on this section before we move on, if there's any other questions from anybody. No? Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a slight change in direction now. We're actually going to talk about how we're using technology, ShelterTech, and other parties are going to come up and talk about what we're doing to hopefully address some of the issues that we just heard directly. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So you're going to have Hisham, Amy, and Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin's here.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to hand over straight over to Hisham. Actually, just if each of you could just give a quick introduction of who you are, where you're from, and what you're working on. Great.
Hi everyone, I'm Hisham. I work in tech in the Bay and was part of ShelterTech for about 1.5 years now. Started in with a couple of people that you'll see in the room. They all have name tags and we'll be very happy to talk to you after the event. I live in San Francisco and was shocked, I think, like most people who just arrived here to see how the city was treating homelessness and what can we do about it. I'm very excited to meet my co-panelists that I've never met them before, but they do really exciting stuff.
Hey everyone, I'm Amy Farrell-Weiss, and I was born and raised in the Bay Area. And I would come to San Francisco as a kid and throughout my teens and early 20s. And I just remember feeling that, wow, if I were to live in San Francisco and have to face every day looking at the raw need that's in your face, I would have to build a force field around my heart because it would just affect me too much. And I would probably have to get numb to it. But I traveled around the country and lived in different places. I worked in a lot of direct service work, worked in mental health, transitional housing, leadership and development. And then I came back to San Francisco in 2007 and have been growing roots here ever since. I ran for mayor of San Francisco in 2015. And part of my platform was addressing the encampment situation and creating humane, outcomes-driven strategies in order to transition people from the encampments. And didn't win, it turns out, the mayor's race. So I decided to keep going and ended up starting the St. Francis Homelessness Challenge, which was something I came up with during the campaign. And I really wanted to put this focus on encampments. And I was inspired by St. Francis of Assisi, who's the namesake of San Francisco, who said, first do what's necessary, then do what's possible, and soon you'll be doing the impossible. And so a lot of people feel that homelessness in San Francisco and encampments is impossible. But you look at the data and you actually start to understand how the city is addressing or not addressing these issues, you can see that there is a pathway where we can make a difference and do what's necessary and possible. So that's the work I've been focused on for the last year and a half.
Hi everyone, nice to see new faces and a few friends in the audience. So my name is Kevin Adler. I just moved back to San Francisco a month ago today from New York. And I'm the founder of an organization called Miracle Messages. We are working to end homelessness by rebuilding social support systems. The way that works right now is we help individuals who are experiencing homelessness record short video messages to their loved ones. And then we use the power of social media and the internet to locate the families and deliver them. To date, we've been able to help 16 individuals get off the streets into stable housing or living with family as a result of connecting them to their loved ones, which is about a third of the reunions that we've helped facilitate. The cost is about $5,000 per person who's been able to get off the streets into stable housing, compared to $20,000, $30,000 per year to have a person on the streets that the city is now paying each and every year. And our goal is to reunite 1 million people by 2021. We just haven't announced this yet, so I'm not announcing it tonight. I almost did. We're working on a 1-year program in San Francisco, and are looking for great folks to join us.
Great. Keep hold of the microphones, guys. I'll just raise my voice. Hisham, you just I've given a little bit of an overview of what ShelterTech is, but specifically AskDarcel. Can you just give an overview of what kind of happened for that, how it came about, what we're working on right now, where we are in the journey, and the impacts that we're hoping having?
Sure. So AskDarcel is the second product that ShelterTech is building. It's built by a full team of volunteers. Huge majority of them have work experience in the tech world and try to apply it in social space. So we were all learning what it means to have a nonprofit. So it was a funny mix, because usually we see teams that are very strong in the nonprofit space trying to adopt new technologies. For us, it was completely the other way around. So trying to build the nonprofit competence of ShelterTech. So as Chris explained, Darcel was former homeless. The minute he managed to get out of homelessness, he said, I need to fix this problem that I went through, and started an earlier version of AskDarcel. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us today due to health issues, but he'll be here at the next event. AskDarcel is an online repository of data, and we found out that there are two audiences for that. One is the homeless community that needs to know where to go, but also the case managers that actually struggle a lot to keep up with what's going on in the city. They need to provide super accurate information to their clients, because you have to think of someone carrying his whole house with him to go from A to B, and then getting there, and there's no space left, or the food is gone, or no, they're not open on Tuesday afternoon. And so all the data needs to be available to the case manager too. So that's what we learned by first publishing our product, is that the case managers were, hey, but you have to build a version of this that we can use too. So we're about 15 people, I think, now, always looking for help on both the tech side and the partnership and the impact teams. Our plan is to roll out. So yeah, as you might have understood from Chris, one of the key problems in this is data accuracy. It's a big mess out there. There are thousands of services that you can find in isolated databases, and none of them is 100% up to date. So when you look at this, you think, how do I solve this? If I have 400 organizations, each of them provide 3 services. Each of those services have opening times, hours, eligibility criteria. How do we do that? And for once, I think our answer was, well, technology is not going to help us solve this by itself. So we started hiring a team of homelessness consultants who are all current or former homeless people who just do that work. So all the money that we raise goes to paying homelessness consultants to do the data vetting work. So we're scaling this up. In June, we'll run, I think, a massive series of 10 or 15 data workshops, and we're looking for volunteers to help the homelessness consultants vet the data. Typically, it's being very fast with computers. We provide IT training, but we try to pair every consultant with a tech worker to get to know each other, but also I think there's a lot of knowledge that we see move from a group to another. So yeah, that's where we are today, and we're going to open this up to the public by the end of midsummer, so around July. So yeah.
Cool, thank you. And maybe some questions to you. Where are you up to today? The impacts that you're having? Any help that you need?
Sure. So started back in November, December of 2015, trying to push forward with this idea of transitional villages and secure sleep and shelter, because for me, when I think about this idea of do what's necessary and do what's possible in terms of encampments, we really need to focus on secure sleep and storage for shelters, because as Scott and Patricia were talking about earlier, people have a hesitancy to leave the encampment because they feel like everything could be stolen. And then there's the trauma of feeling at night that anybody could walk right into your tent and attack you or steal from you. So that secure sleep and storage has been a real focus. The 24/7 access to a toilet, as well as a pathway to transition. And so when I started off, the thought was, well, why don't we have more of these transitional villages, these interim villages that are popping up all over the Northwest? Why aren't we doing something like that in San Francisco, which is supposedly this bastion of innovation? But this is a model that's been working in a way that organizes with encampment residents and supports a path towards transition and provides those essential services. And so I started off back in November, December, January, trying to figure out like what is the city actually doing around encampments? How many encampments are there? What is really the situation here? And why is the city balking against trying this more transitional village model? And it might surprise you, but because it surprises me to some extent, that it actually seems like a surmountable issue for me, the encampments, because you think for a second, like how many encampments do you think there are in San Francisco? And just to yourself, how many encampments do you think there are? Well, DPW has been tracking that data, and they have a number. It's actually 125 encampments of 2 or more people. And so when you think about 125 encampments of between 2 to, let's say, 30 people in an encampment, that seems like something that we can take on. Don't you agree? If it was 500, if it was 1,000 encampments, then you start to feel a bit more overwhelmed. But when you're talking about 125, that's something that we can actually do. So I did a round at City Hall a year ago, pushing forward with this idea of can we try to pilot a transitional village that is really a step up from an encampment, but not quite as service rich as a navigation center. And just was pushed back against it. It didn't happen. So I was trying to figure out how to push forward in a policy way, but then it turns out that back in September of last year, I got a call from a police officer who's affectionately known as Dyke Cop. Her name is Yvonne, and she does community outreach out, and everybody loves Dyke Cop, except when she's coming to say that not to clear things, within a day or two, a couple weeks, which just happened at one of the encampments I was at. But she called me and she said, I heard that you try to get toilets for people, porta potties. And so I actually have been, when we talk about tech, a lot of people talk about this, disruptive quality of tech and, finding the ways to be in this gray area. So I went out to the encampment that Yvonne said, maybe you should bring out a porta potty to, which was Box City, which maybe some of you have seen in the news. It was at 7th and 16th, and there was about 25 to 35 people there. And I brought out, I talked with the encampment residents there, and then brought out a porta potty. And, radical thing, front page news of the Chronicle that people have a toilet in San Francisco to use, right? I mean, that's just mind-boggling to me. But we had a toilet there, tried out different incentive programs in terms of taking care of it. And then the other piece was we were getting these complaints from neighbors. And so what happens with complaints, and you might see this later on the screen, is that these 311 complaints come in, and the most squeakiest neighbors, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So the idea is that the Department of Homelessness decides which encampment to target by who's complaining the most in the area, what supervisor is most persistent about it. And so I was looking at that data and saying, okay, well, what are the main issues of this particular encampment, right? It's trash collection, it's blocking parking, and it's noise at night, because I was hearing this from the neighbors. So I would go back to, as a community liaison with the encampment residents, and figure out from this data that was coming in, what if we could curb the actual issues that are happening here? Would we have the same amount of complaints? And so the focus was on how do we get a better trash system. Then I found out that DPW, comes out sporadically, not consistently, to pick up trash and gives directives, and sometimes says they're going to come on one day and doesn't come on that day, which causes a lot of chaos at times. That happened, actually. One of the days that we had neighbors complain the most about Box City was the day that DPW said to bring out your large stuff and they would do a big haul. Guess what? They didn't come back to that site for a week. But guess what? The complaints went up and said, who are these people who don't care and they're putting all their stuff everywhere in the gutter? And so the data from the 311 complaints, is something that I'm trying to organize with all stakeholders including the encampment residents, the neighbors, the city services. And it's not rocket science, guys. It's about the city saying, we're going to work together with all these stakeholders to address the main concerns of public health issues, garbage, and toilets. And if we were to start there, there would be this huge ripple effect out there. So I'm working on something right now called an encampment livability index and task force. But it turns out that the Department of Homelessness does not want to improve conditions at encampments, because in their words, they feel that if they do anything to improve the coordination and trash and work with encampment residents, that it is sanctioning the encampment. And so they are content to let DPW and SFPD be the bad guy right now in terms of sweep, but there are real public health hazards out there. There are abuse issues. There is constant theft. And so it's really about figuring out what specific things that we can do. And in addition to the encampment livability index, we are still focusing, when it comes to like a code or a hacker mentality, that's how I look at policy. And so I got this great piece of news from the planning department just this last week, which is that if you have a shelter, one of our tiny shelters that we build and piloted out in encampments, if you have it on an RV trailer and it's certified as an RV, then there is no planning department code that actually disallows you from having that RV trailer on private property. And the police code only will enforce RV camping if it's on public property. So, haha, we found our in, right? So now the focus is, this is 2.0 of going to City Hall and saying, well, now we know what to ask for. I need a shelter. We're going to do a safe park program that are popping up all over the place with our attractive tiny shelters that are built, by the way, with the support of people who are living in the encampments, because we see this as a holistic path towards economic opportunity as well. And, that's the current proposal that we have. And I passed out some of these earlier, but I will for the rest of you later. stfrancischallenge.org you can go to, and you can support the two proposals that we have for the encampment livability index, as well as the safe park program. And we're looking for a parking spot in San Francisco on private property to church property right now that we can pilot this first one and get our foot in the door and see how this pilot project works.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. And Kevin, same question to you, just kind of what's the question? Where you're up to today, what is it? I know you've got a video actually. Do you want to show that? That's very quite actually explain.
So for context, as they get this ready, I just ran over here from MSC South, which is the largest shelter in San Francisco. I cut the EP short because I wanted to be here not to talk at you, but to talk with you, because I think this is an issue that is very addressable. My background's in tech. I was working in the ed tech space for a few years. And my only connection to homelessness was living in San Francisco and having an uncle who lived on and off the streets for 30 years. But the thing is I never saw him as a homeless man. He's my uncle, right? He remembers every birthday. He's the guest of honor at Thanksgiving, Christmas, just like I'm sure any of your family members. And so after he passed away, I just started thinking how the tools in our disposal, the smartphone, the wearable cameras, social media, what a powerful storytelling device where we can hear status updates and information and news clips from every acquaintance we've ever met. Why are these tools not being used for people on the streets to help them tell their stories, people like my Uncle Mark? And so I started this side project helping individuals on the streets wear wearable cameras to literally walk a mile in their shoes. I'm Christian, and at my church there was a program called Who is Jesus? And everyone was like doing paintings and artwork or songs like Jesus is not only singing to him or painted to him, how would Jesus use a smartphone? How would Jesus use a wearable camera? That's to me the kind of faith tradition I grew up in. And we got a lot of publicity, we got a lot of attention. Most of it good, some of it bad. But it was really meant to build empathy, to try to understand, to walk a mile in someone's shoes. And over again, I just kept hearing different versions of the same story, which was, I never realized I was homeless when I lost my housing, only when I lost my family and friends. This isn't to whitewash that, loved ones, family, and that's the magical ingredient to all this, but so much of what we're facing here is relational brokenness, traumas, issues of abuse. It just goes on and on. And so the good news is this is something that we can all do something about, because homelessness is not the same thing as houselessness. Houselessness, you don't have stable housing. Homelessness is the lack of stable housing and the loss of a social support system and sense of belonging, what we call the social home. And what we found is that by restoring the social home, what we can all do as neighbors, by the same things we do with each other in tech, sharing ideas, network, contact, listening to each other, brainstorming. That's what we start with, is building relationships. Then the rest of Maslow's pyramid at the base, that comes later. And it's not to discount the work of our partners. It's not to say that those basic essentials can be glanced over, but what are we going to do as people? And I just got tired of going to work every day to change the world and then walking over human beings on the way to get there. So this video was recorded 2 hours ago by this lovely woman, Susie. She's 68 years old, and she hasn't seen her family in 20 years. She's living on and off the streets for the last 2 years. She doesn't have arms or legs. She just faced a sexual assault just a few weeks ago. And this was the video that she recorded, and I'll tell you what happened after that. All right, so Olivia, do we have your permission to record or share this video?
Yes.
Okay, and you said you wanted to record a miracle message today for your uncle.
Yes.
Okay, what's his name?
Milton Howard Smith.
Okay, and if Milton was here right now, why don't you go ahead and speak to the camera as if he was here? What would you like to say?
I am Howard. This is Susie, and I'm not doing so well right now. I'm very sick, and I get in touch with Sharice. I've lost contact with all the family. This gentleman is going to give you the address. Please call and try and contact me. Okay, I've given him permission, and I hope it's all right with you. So this is Susie again, and I'm trying to let him know where you are. This is the only address I know is at the Ann's, and I tried to contact her, and I saw a for sale sign on my house. I don't know what's going on with the family. I don't know what any of you are, and I feel so hurt that I'm 68. I'd like to see you all again, if only for a little while. That's all I have to say. Please, this is a miracle message. Somebody walked in and asked me, this gentleman, and he asked me if I wanted to contact my family, and it was truly a miracle, because I had said, I wish I knew how to get in touch with Therese, get in touch with you, get in touch with Faye. I don't even remember where she is now, except for Betty knows how to get in touch with her, so that I would know what's going on. Family, I love you all. Thank you. In advance. Love, Susie.
Is it Susie or Olivia?
Susie's my nickname. They usually don't read that I grew up with the name.
They know you as Susie, so Olivia is the.
That's my name.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm on the end, I call you Susie.
Susie's fine.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Susie.
S-U-S-I-E, Susie.
That's a beautiful name. And literally within an hour of sitting there with her on White Pages, Facebook, we found all three, her uncle, her daughter, and her aunt. We called numbers for an hour, literally just using my phone. And the last one we called was her aunt, and they had a phone call, and they hadn't talked to each other in 20 years. They're going to have another call next week.
you know, she's on her way. They're wanting to bring her back. They're wanting to reunite. The only question she's ever been asked related to this is, who's your emergency contact? And you know, she doesn't have the phone number. She's lost it. She doesn't have, you know, access to computers. She's no means to do that. It's really that basic. This isn't appropriate for everyone. There's violence, there's assaults, there's, you know, reasons why you need to be disconnected from the loved ones. Half of youth are LGBTQ youth homeless. So it's not to whitewash this, but so many of the people on the streets, there's somebody. And I just took a choice a few years ago saying, if I'm not going to be at the core of their social support system, because I have my friends in my network, what can I do to potentially help restore them to those relationships, and then in the process, you know, potentially form a bond with this other human being.
Thanks. How can people get involved to help you with this journey?
Come up and talk to me, right here. Have a conversation. That's the theme. miraclemessages.org. We'll have the reunion phone call and the video on the site, on Facebook, and on miraclemessages.org. Okay.
You're going to be sticking around for a bit?
For people asking questions, or we hanging out?
Yeah, we're going to do some questions now, and then we're going to be here and have a chat for a bit. I'll open it up to the floor then. Is there any questions for the three guys up here in terms of what they're working on around involvement, or anything else you want to hear about the stories from either ShelterTech, from some Francis, or from Miracle Messages?
I have this question to all three of you actually in general. All of these are awesome programs, but I'm just kind of curious how you guys get funding for all these things to servers, development, all that kind of stuff, and to keep these great ideas going.
Who wants to start?
Can we try?
No.
So to your point, yes, you need funding for a couple of things. Just, you know, to buy the drinks for an event like this, to pay server costs. We're all volunteers, but you, as I explained, you need to hire homeless people to do the data set. For us, what we know best is the tech and investor space. So that's what we tapped into. People are actually surprisingly open to help if you speak a language they understand. A lot of people want to get involved, but don't necessarily know how to do that. And so it's startup accelerators, angel investors, people who have zero connection with the space. You offer them a way to play a role in this.
I'd love to tap into that for funding. The majority of funding has actually been through small donations, and one of the ways that we do outreach is through tech. I put together a survey that you can find on our website, and at the bottom said, are you interested in donating, and had a link to donations. And so we raised about $15,000 that way over the last year. Had a $10,000 crowdfunding campaign through Hand Up, which maybe some of you have heard, so that we could build the shelters. All the money that we've spent has gone to porta potties, shelters, barbecues, garbage cans, you know, just really putting it out there. It's not currently sustainable in terms of being able to pay for me to work. So I saved up a bunch of money from my last job, and I'm just coasting off of that right now. Just got a $10,000 grant from actually a tech couple that has invested into Lagame and Hand Up in the past, which is really great. So yeah, would love some support in spreading the word about what we're doing. And for me too, I'm hesitant to ask for money until we have something very specific to use it for. And so that's why the Hand Up campaign was great, because we raised the money to be able to build a number of shelters. And I'm hoping that we're able to get this Safe Park program for our transitional shelters up and running, so that I can ask for, you know, we've created a budget for a year to be able to do this for, up to 20 shelters that we're monitoring, to 50 to 100. So it's these different tiers that we're trying to go towards. But currently, we are just piloting our encampment, our shelters at the encampments, and there are people living in them, and it's all in that gray area. So it'd be great to be able to get legislation and get above board and actually be able to raise money for specific projects like that.
The first 2.5 years of the organization, I quit my job and started doing it full time pretty quickly, just because I was like, there's a risk in it, but there's a bigger risk in not living the life that like you're brought on this earth to live. So I just said, okay, I'm going to do that. My dad didn't like that responsibility. At the end of the day, there's a privilege in being able to do this because, I don't come from wealth, but we certainly have had our needs met, so I can take risks and know that there's always a little bit of a safety net. But I saved up a little bit of money from tech. Gave myself a modest, like $1,200 a month, $1,500 a month salary stipend. Chose to live on the outskirts of San Francisco where it was a little more affordable. We raised some money for crowdfunding, and it's been successful. But there's a recent infusion of cash that we've received that we're still looking to kind of finish off, but that's made a big difference. We're now hiring for a full-time COO and CTO. We probably have the person in mind. And I got the job too. I hired myself, which is great. I think the main, in terms of the sustainable, ongoing, so cities, spend upwards of 100 million, 150 million on homelessness. Discretionary spending, we had the former head of homelessness in San Francisco basically say, well, I can give you a check for 5 to 10K, which is their discretionary budget, or they can connect you to local foundations and these public-private partnerships. So we'll probably look at that in other cities that have reached out, LA, Salt Lake City, Portland, and Seattle. Beyond that, individual donations, grants, crowdfunding. Our content has gone viral quite a few times. So we've had over 60 million views of our videos and over 500 million shares of our content on Facebook. So learning new ways to monetize that and distribute that in new channels.
Are there any other questions directly to the panel?
One of the things that I think prevents people from helping is, I think, drug abuse. A lot of people think that if they actually get involved, they donate the money here to go back to drugs. Can you guys, from your experience, talk a little bit about that and how we should cycle through drugs and so on, and how that, what resources you have available we should get out of that cycle and prison?
So I used to work in the medical cannabis field, and I think that pathway is one that we should really be exploring right now. I don't know if you know this, but in states that have medical cannabis, there's a 25% reduction in death from opioid overdose. And so I was really focusing on the education and the medicinal aspect of it. So one of my many seedlings that I'm trying to grow through the St. Francis Homelessness Challenge is a program to support people in acquiring medical cannabis cards. And so I have a doctor that I'm already connected with, and there's a grower in Santa Cruz that has offered to offer some of her medicine to me for free to do a pilot project. And so that whole idea of cannabis being a gateway towards health and off of the harsher stuff has been very popular in encampments because people feel like there's not a judgment piece there. And so it's like, I just say, like, let's get off the hard stuff and onto the green. If we can actually go that direction, I think that would be really helpful. But Elizabeth is over here, and we were just talking beforehand about this great program called Take It to the Streets that's based out of Haight, and they also have a few SROs. And I've always been thinking about this too, is I don't want to really give people money when they're in encampments. I want to help build up the pathway towards transition and have people earning money towards that. And so that Take It to the Streets program, people are doing up to 30 hours of work per week, but that money is going to support their housing costs and transition. And I think that, for when I was doing incentive work around the porta potties and trying to figure out how to support encampment residents in getting trash organized and things like that, I set these goals of, if you do this, then I can get you, $750 stipend for the whole group, and you can figure out what you want to spend it on. So I think that idea of supporting in that way, and Hand Up is really good for that too. Have you heard of Hand Up? Because people get hooked up on Hand Up through different service providers, and then they say what they're saving for. And it could be, books for school, or it could be, something to support transition. And so then you're doing a little mini crowdfunding campaign for that person based on what their economic transition support needs are, which is great.
So I had pretty much the same question when I moved to San Francisco, and the answer that we came up with is, I think it's more efficient to give time and goods to people you'll meet on the streets. And I think Scott talked about it earlier, that people just often want to have a conversation. So if you have a conversation, you will quickly understand that it's not really the money they're asking for, but it's they want to have food, or they want to have cigarettes or something like that. And it's, I think, infinitely more rewarding to have the conversation and share that good, as opposed to just dropping $1. And then I think for donations, giving them to organizations is often answers that problem that you have, because those organizations know who will receive the money for doing what, and it's, I think, more rewarding to get the money for a job that the person did than for as a
Any other questions directed to the panel? I was saying we're all going to be around. You can go for it.
So everybody's individual circumstances are different. But in your experience, for most people experiencing homelessness, what's their most immediate priority? Is it shelter? Is it trying to get employment? Trying to get health care? Is shelter kind of the foundation for everything else?
I mean, it's a good question. But I also think we're too often focused on segments of the person rather than the whole person. I don't know which I'd sooner give up, like my housing, my friends, my sense of, emotional, social well-being, self-esteem. I mean, it's all part of it. We've established that like supportive housing and housing first works, right? Like up until 10 years ago, there was a kind of mindset that you needed to stabilize people where they are before putting them indoors. It turns out it's fairly traumatic to not be indoors. And so, certainly being in supportive housing is essential. But again, I'm coming at it from a very narrow, focused, but important perspective, which is having conversation after conversation with people. Again, as you kind of mentioned, like you give your time, you give your attention, you have conversations with folks who say, I haven't had a conversation with someone, who wasn't homeless in a month, 2 months. And that to me seems like a problem. I know where I've been able to get to, why we go to the schools we go to, probably why we go to events like these, why we work in, it's a lot of the relational network. A lot of individuals on the streets are totally disconnected from those networks. So yeah, I wouldn't slice and dice it so much. I think, to an earlier comment that, first, I love this event because it's an example of kind of like collaboration and communication that doesn't often happen. It's very siloed, just the kind of whole industry. And it's a shame because people aren't siloed. You go go from one activity or one partner organization to the next to the next. When I hear what you're talking about, Amy, I think about refugees. It's a very similar situation where people, in Greece right now are kind of in this limbo because the government doesn't want to build up the proper structures for safety. Those are real lives being lived out in those facilities. So there's, I think, some really philosophical questions that we are addressing right now as a city. I think this is the greatest time to be in San Francisco because we have the opportunity to remake the city because right now it's just not acceptable. Like the status quo is not working for anyone. So it's really incumbent on us what city we want to live in. And I think, the way I said it before is New York at its best is a city that's open to lots of different ideas. San Francisco at its worst, not all the time, but at its worst, is an idea in search of a city, where we have a set of principles, we have a set of ideals, and yet we never have that lived experience, that lived environment that matches those principles. I think we have a chance here on this issue to really traverse these issues, traverse these ideals, traverse this, and actually make a real tangible difference for our neighbors who are just like right outside this building like this right now. So.
Secure sleep and storage is so huge, and I am so happy to have been able to participate in getting 7 people keys to a locking shelter. So and the difference is just so tremendous that they don't have to feel that their things are going to be stolen from. And think about that. Think about living in an SRO or a fancy condo or what have you. And every time you leave your room, your neighbors might steal from you. Think about how demoralizing that would be. It's a real community killer, right? Because you think that at any moment you can't trust anyone. And that's the situation. And so just having secure storage would be a great thing. But then I've slept on, I actually in solidarity have slept in tents on the streets of San Francisco twice. And the whole time, I just felt like anytime there was a rustle or any kind of thing going on, just this immediate knee-jerk reaction of, oh. And just think about the trauma of getting to a place where you're numb to that, and what that does to you. And then having access to a toilet, it's so important. And I just want to make a comparison to you. Our transitional RV shelters that are, RV certified and on a trailer, they cost $3,500 with labor. 100 of those shelters we could make for $350,000 and have people, like 100 people immediately, even more because people, team up in those. But the new navigation center that's proposed for Van Ness and 26 for 9 months cost $2.5 million. And so if we just look at the comparison between where the investment is in short-term shelter and you see the cost benefits of what we're proposing and how big of an impact it would have on people's lives, I hope that we're able to crack this nut and actually start doing more of this in San Francisco with the secure shelter because it's really one of the most important things.
Great, thank you very much, guys. So I think we'll leave it there for the actual panelists. Amy and Kevin, particularly massive thanks to you guys. You've got to have it because you were with ShelterTech. But as Kevin mentioned, it's not often that we sort of all come together and do this. We wanted to give you a picture of how we're all using technology in different ways to approach the issues that we heard about from Scott and Patricia. So thank you guys very much for joining us. You'll notice that there's quite a few ShelterTech team around. We've all got name badges on. So we're going to be here for a little while. If you've got any questions that you didn't happen to ask during the sessions, feel free to come and approach one of us. What you'll see up on the screen here is we always get asked actually tangible things that I can walk away with and what could I do to help. We put some really basic things up there. Even if you're not in tech and don't think these are projects that you can necessarily dedicate some time to, feel free to take a photo of this because there's some important info on there. One of the things we hear a lot from when we're talking to the homeless community is around the involvement of the police department. And actually it's completely counterproductive If you see somebody on the street that you think needs help, actually in Tedway and Knock Hill and Solar areas, there's an app called Concern that you can use that will dispatch a team to actually go out and help. And there was a story in the Chronicle a couple of weeks ago about a member of the homeless community who was eating a pizza at a bus stop and got a citation for it, just because the cops didn't want him there, not because he was actually doing anything wrong. So often getting police involved, obviously if there's a danger to life or something, you use your best judgment. But there are 3 different options there: Concern, Mobile Crisis, and Hot Team. All of those people help in different ways. So I advise you to go away and have a look at that. Secondly, volunteering. So as Kishan mentioned earlier on this evening, we're hosting a huge amount of data vetting workshops where we'll have members of our homeless consultants working with us, and we need some people to help get involved in the data vetting process, but also to help train and guide some of those guys. So if you haven't already, please like us on Facebook, because we'll be detailing the information of how you can get involved on there. And finally, at the bottom, to the point that Amy spoke around earlier on today, getting toilet trash and secure shelters and transition for incumbent residents, obviously something that Amy is continuing the work of that with part of St. Francis Homelessness Challenge. So there's a link there where you can go on, and I think there's some information that Amy has as well.
Does anybody not get one?
So a couple of thank yous. First of all, to you guys for giving up the Monday night and coming to hear about what we have to say. I hope it was useful. Take a look at ShelterTech.org and the websites of the other ones that you've seen tonight. Also, big thanks to the ShelterTech team for obviously putting it together. In particular, and she run off because I think she knew I was going to thank her. Agatha, where is she? There she is. Stand up, because this wouldn't happen without her. So. And yeah, so we're going to be around for a little while longer. Come here if you're here, and come and ask any questions you weren't brave enough to ask us. Thank you very much, guys.
One thing that's really check this out. Oh, that's great. Yeah, we got somebody to actually take off data and I'll put my thoughts to that. That would be great. And if you go here and fill that out, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And remind me of your name. Yeah, I will put my mind to it. I'm not sure that's right now. I love measurable outcomes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then spread this around. Thank you. Yeah, there are 5. Well, I think this is good to see you. our daily experience, we're gonna talk, but as long as you're doing your thing, needles. Well, this one, these are the ones we have locally around 6-inch materials, and so Ocean builds them, builds most of them. Yeah, but the ones that we have now. Just take it off. Yeah. So, yeah, it brings you that. And then you're like, well, what do you do about bed bugs? It's like, okay, I got a non-toxic, so they're fumigation systems that you can use to clean pieces. So, like, they keep growing stuff. Like, okay, yeah, so that's it. Like, okay, so just instead of, like, they're just stopping and saying, oh, those are well, I'm hoping that through this, because I haven't tried long tail, but I'm having a meeting with a reverend tomorrow, so I'm hitting another big council. And I want a church to set it up and say, okay, let's try this one. Because I'm, I have this insurance, lease, like we're doing it all so that there should be the least amount for mitigating risk, even though it's like we're trying to reduce that risk. And then the other piece that I would I already have it. We actually have all that. So I think that's a good piece of his school was he actually built and it pulls out. Well, it doesn't come down that way. It pulls out. And then he has shelving. That's really nice. So yeah, there's some storage. Yeah, check this out. And then website. Yes. Yeah, but if you could, you got one of these?
Yeah, keep submitting.
Yeah, do you know anybody?
Totally different.
Oh, you're very different. Yeah. But do you, like, one of the things I really figured out is to get.